Okay. So the next one we are going to look at is what? Is PEFA. PEFA framework. PEFA framework. PEFA framework. Let me share my screen. Then we begin. PEFA framework. What is PEFA? What is PEFA? PEFA, as they have been saying, PEFA. What is PEFA? We are saying that PEFA, okay, the full meaning of PEFA is what? Public expenditure and financial accountability. Public expenditure and financial accountability framework. Okay, so that is the full meaning of what? PEFA. So what is PEFA? We are saying that PEFA is a framework that is developed for assessing the status of public financial management at central and local government level of government. Okay, I take it again. PEFA is a framework that is developed for assessing the status of public financial management at central and local government levels of government. So we said that a PEFA assessment provides a thorough, consistent, and evidence-based analysis of the PFM performance at a specific point in time. So the PEFA methodology can be reapplied, okay, can be reapplied in successful assessment to track changes over what? The time. The PEFA methodology can be what? Can be reapplied in a successive assessment to track changes in what? Over what? The time. So this is what we meant by what? The PEFA. The PEFA is what? It's a framework that is being developed for assessing the status of public financial management at the central level and at the local level of what? Of government. Okay. So we move on to the scope of what? PEFA. What are the scope of PEFA? What are the scope of PEFA? What are the scope of PEFA? When I started writing ICAG, that is public sector, the question that came under PEFA is what I've just exposed you to. They ask you what is the scope of what? PEFA. And you are to what? Elaborate on these three things that I've projected. Okay. So the PEFA scope identified three outcomes of PFM system. The PEFA scope identifies three outcomes PFM system, and they are: one, aggregate fiscal discipline, strategic allocation of resources, and efficient service delivery. Let's look at it one by one. When you say aggregate fiscal discipline, what does it mean? We are saying that the objective of public financial management is to ensure effective control of the total budget and management of fiscal risks. So the outcome is that government must be what? Fiscally disciplined when he is executing what? His mandate. Okay. So the fiscal policies that the government bring, we are saying this particular scope is saying that government should be what? Physically disciplined when he is what? He is providing the needs of what? The citizen. Then strategic allocation of resources. We are saying that under the strategic allocation of resources, the objective of the public financial management system is to ensure that resources are strategically allocated to priority areas of government policy and plans. So with this, we are saying that it involves planning and executing the budget in line with government priorities, aimed at achieving policy objectives. So when government, this strategic allocation of resources, we are saying that government should be what? Strategic enough when he is allocating what? The resources, that is the national cake. So he should what? Focuses on what? The priority areas that have what? Less development, so that the objective of government will be achieved based on the policies that have been brought out. Okay, so government should be strategic enough when he is allocating resources, and resources should be allocated to the most priority areas, the areas or the communities that needed the resources most. Then the next one is efficient service delivery. With the efficient service delivery, we are saying that the objective of the public financial management is to collect revenues and direct these revenues to the provision of public services in an efficient and effective manner. So with this, it requires using the budgeted revenues to achieve the best level of public services within the available resources. Okay, within the available resources. So please, let's be mindful. Okay, let's be mindful. The services that government is delivering is using public funds, which is the revenue. So we are saying that the objective of the financial management system is to collect revenue from the citizen and direct the use of the resources for its intended purposes. Okay, it should use the resources for the purposes to which the revenue are being collected. And that is what we said by allocating the resources for a strategic areas. Please, are we clear? So these are the scope of the PEFA. They are aggregate fiscal discipline, strategic allocation of resources, and efficient service delivery. Then we move on to the PEFA reports. PEFA report. The PEFA report. We are saying that the PEFA report provides an evidence-based assessment. Okay, it provides an evidence-based assessment of PFM performance that is based on the indicator analysis and other crucial information in a concise and standardized manner. Okay, so everything that we do under the PEFA is assessing the PFM performance. Okay, how is the performance of a country going? So the PEFA, we use the PEFA to assess the performance of government, whether government is doing well in providing the services that is needed for the citizen. Please, are we clear? So the PEFA assessment takes several matters into account. And what are the matters? Okay, what are the matters that it takes into account? One, the controls used by government to ensure that resources are obtained and used as intended purposes. What are the controls that government put in place in order to ensure that resources that have been collected are used judiciously for its intended purposes? Then two, the transparency and accountability in terms of access to information and reporting and audit and dialogue on the PFM policies and actions. So here, the transparency and accountability. When it comes to access of information, okay, when a user requires information, what is the transparency and accountability in terms of that? Okay, and also when the financial statements are being prepared, its reporting and its auditing is what the PEFA assessment is looking at. And the third one is the institutions, the laws, the regulations, and the standards that is being used by government in the PFM processes. What are the laws governing the financials? What are the laws governing the country? Okay, what are the regulations? What are the standards, the IPSAS? Okay, it also look at that, whether government is mainly basing on the laws governing the four corners of the countries, or the regulation governing the four countries or the four corners of the countries, or the standard is government going compliance with those laws or not. So the PEFA assessment takes into account of those. And the last one that the PEFA assessment takes account is the result arising from the cooperation of PFM in key areas such as budget outing, effectiveness of controls, and timeliness of reporting and audit. Okay, so the PEFA assessment will look at the budget outing. Is government overrunning the budget? Is the actual over the budgeted one? Okay, whether government is overspending or is not overspending. whether government is spending within the budget or is not spending within the budget. That is what we call the budget outlays or the budget variance. We are going to look at it under the financial statement analysis. The effectiveness of what controls, the controls that have been kept in place, how effective the controls are. Is the controls doing it well, it work as intended or not? Okay, so we are also, the PEFA assessment is looking at that. Then the timeliness of reporting. Is the financial statement reported on time? That will achieve the qualitative characteristics. And remind you, the qualitative characteristics, one is what? Timeliness. Financial statement should be report on time, as at the time information is what is needed. So the PEFA assessment will look at into that. Then the audit, okay, the audit, okay, auditing of what? The financials, whether there is what? Financial malfeasance, or whether what? They are not using it as intended purposes. So these are the 4 areas that the PEFA take account into. Then we move on to the benefit or uses or importance of what? PEFA report. What are the benefits? What are the uses? What are the importance of PEFA benefit report? What are the benefits that a country is going to derive from what? The PEFA. Okay, if using the PEFA for assessing what? Its performance. What are the benefits that is going to get? One, we are saying that the following are the benefits that a country derive from what? The PEFA report. Okay, one, government use PEFA to obtain a snapshot of their own PFM performance. Government use PEFA to obtain what? A snapshot. When you talk about the snapshot, that is what? A general view of what? The performance of what? Government. Is government performing or not? Okay, a snapshot of what? The PFM what? Performance. Then the next one is what? PEFA offers a common basis for examining PFM performance across national and sub-national government. Okay, so here, because we adopt what? The accrual-based IPSAS, okay, we can what? Compare 2 countries. So here we are saying that the PEFA also what? Serve as what? A common basis for examining whether the PFM performance across the national, okay, and what? The national government, okay, we can be able to compare the 2, whether it is the performance is good or not. Then the third one is what? PEFA scores and reports allow both government and other users. Sorry, here is not others, okay? You are saying that the PEFA scores and reports allow both government and other users of the information to gain a quick review or a quick overview of the strengths and weakness of what? A country PFM system. Okay, so here the PEFA is going to look at whether there is what? There's a strength for the country to continue providing its what? Service delivery, or there is what? Weakness in it. So the PEFA assessment will look at into that. The fourth one is what? PEFA assists the users to appreciate the implications of the overall performance result for the key goals of fiscal discipline, strategic resource allocation, and efficient service delivery. And mind you, here he's talking about what? The scope, okay? The scope or objective of what? Of PEFA. That is what? The fiscal discipline, the strategic resource allocation, and what? And efficient service delivery. And the next one we are going to look at is what? The PEFA analysis contributes to a dialogue on the need and priorities of what? PFM what? Reforms. So when they are going to what? PFM reform, okay? When they are going to what? Reform. So the PEFA analysis contributes to the dialogue, okay? It contributes to what? To the dialogue to which they are going to hold to set up for the reforms that they are bringing. Then the last one we are going to look at is what? PEFA program provides support, monitoring, and analysis of what? PEFA assessment, okay? So it monitors the performance, okay? Then it provides support also to what? To the performance, government performing indicators. The next we are going to look at is what? The 7 pillars of what? PEFA. The 7 pillars of PEFA. what are the pillars of PEFA? And there are 7. Let's take note of this. PEFA identifies 7 pillars of performance in an open and orderly PFM system that are essential to achieving this objective. So the pillars are: 1, the budget reliability, the transparency of public finances, management of assets and liabilities, policy-based fiscal strategy and budgeting, predictability and control in budget execution, accounting and reporting, and the last one is what? External scrutiny and audit. So these are the 7 pillars of what PEFA. The 7 pillars of what PEFA. Mind you, these ones, you won't get any addition, you won't get any subtraction. When they are asking you the question, they will ask you to explain all the 7 for 10 marks. Okay, they will ask you to explain all the 7 for 10 marks. Oh, okay, when the question is being asked on the pillars. So let's be mindful of this. So let's take it one by one. Budget reliability. When you say budget reliability, we are saying that the government budget is what? It's realistic, and it is what? Implemented as intended. This measured by comparing actual revenues and expenditures. So the immediate result of what? The PFM system with the original approved budget. So here, for budget to go to be realistic, and it should be what? Implemented as intended. Therefore, we are going to measure what? The actuals to what? To the budget. When you talk about the actual, those are the main results that we get to the already budgeted ones. So the difference becomes what? The variance or what? The outcome. Okay. So the budget reliability what? Measures the variance. Okay. And the variance is what? The budgeted and what? The actual. That is the differences. Then 2, transparency of public finances. Transparency of public finances. Here we are saying that information on the PFM is comprehensive, consistent, and accessible to users. This is achieved through comprehensive budget classification, transparency of all government revenue and expenditure, including in intergovernmental transfers, published information on service delivery performance, and ready access to fiscal and budget documentation. So here, we are also looking at what? The budget classification, how the budget is being classified. Okay. Then we are also looking at what? The transparency of what? Government revenue, how government is collecting the revenue and how he is intended using the revenue for. Okay, what are the policies he's using the revenue for? And the expenditure, okay, is there transparency in what? The expenditure line of what? Government. Then the service delivery performance, is government also what? Giving information on what the services he's delivering to what? To the citizen. Okay. And if you want information, the readiness of the information on what? The fiscal policy and budget documentation is what the transparency of public finances is looking at. The next one we are going to look at what the pillar is management of assets and liabilities. How assets and liabilities are managed. So we are saying that effective management of assets and liabilities ensure that public investments provide value for money, assets are recorded and managed, fiscal risks are identified, and debt and guarantees are prudently planned and approved and monitored. So 1, here we are saying that when you are going to what? Do investment, you should be able to ensure that there is what? Value for money. The investment you are undertaking, there should be what? Value for money. Asset that you acquired, asset that you bought should be what? Recorded and managed well. Okay, you should have what? Asset register. Okay, you should have what? Asset register to record all the asset that has been bought, so that you'll be able to manage its usefulness. Then the fiscal risks, how you are going to identify the risks and manage the risk well. Okay, for it not to go to be escalated. And the debt and what? Guarantees, the debt within the country, how well are you managing the debt? Okay, how well are you managing the debt? So with all this, we climax it by saying that all these things should be approved. When you are going to buy an asset, it should be approved. Okay, when you are going to get a loan, it should be approved. So upon all this, you should be able to monitor what activities that you are embarking under the management of what asset and liabilities. The next pillar is what? Policy-based fiscal strategy and budgeting. Policy-based fiscal strategy and budgeting. So the fiscal strategy and the budget are prepared with due regard to government fiscal policies, strategic plans, and adequate macroeconomic and fiscal projections. So here, when Ken Oforiatta was preparing the budget, he brings what? The fiscal policies. Okay, so these fiscal policies, we are looking at how strategic it is. Okay, how strategic it is in providing what? Useful information what to the citizen, providing what services what to the citizen, in compliance with what? Adequate macroeconomic variables, okay, and projections. Then the next pillar is what? Predictability and control in budget execution. Predictability and control in budget execution. Okay, so the budget is implemented within a system of effective system, okay, or effective standard processes and what? Internal controls that are ensuring in what? Resources that obtain and use as intended. So here we are also going to say that the budget that you are implementing it, can you predict it? Is there control in the budget execution? Have you instituted controls that there shouldn't be what? Budget overruns? Is there controls that would necessitate that they will spend within the budget? Okay, is there necessitate that you are going to predict the budget as to whether the budget will be implemented as intended? This is what the predictability and control in budgeting what is saying. Then accounting and reporting. When you talk about accounting and reporting, how you are reporting and accounting for the financials. So we are saying that there should be what? Accurate and reliable records should be maintained. Okay, you should maintain what? Accurate and reliable records. Okay, and information is produced and disseminated at appropriate times to meet decision-making, management, and what? Reporting needs. So when users of financial information, the users for the financials needed the information, okay, is there accurate information that will meet their decision-making purposes and also to enforce accountability? Okay, is there information enough that will be disseminated to these people as at the time it's needed? Okay, this is what the accounting and reporting talks about. Then the external scrutiny and audit. The external scrutiny, it also talks about what? The audit, the PAC, the PAC. Okay, so the public finances are independently reviewed. And which people review the financials? It's what? The audit service. Okay, so audit service and what? The internal audit. Okay, so the audit service is the supreme. So they are saying that the public finance are independently reviewed, and there is what? External follow-up on the implementation of recommendation for improvement for what? For the executive. So here you realize that when the Auditor General review the financials, okay, the financial statement, he then send it to Parliament. And Parliament will also refer it to the PAC, the Public Account Committee. So these people will follow up on the recommendation that has been provided in the report that has been read to them. Okay, so that is what we are saying, that the public finance are reviewed independently, and there is external follow-up. So the external follow-up is the PAC making a follow-up on whether the recommendations have been implemented. We move on to the limitation of PEFA. Limitation of PEFA. What are the limitations of PEFA? So the following are the limitations of PEFA. 1, PEFA focuses on the operational performance of key elements of the PFM system rather than on all the various inputs and capacities that may enable the PFM system to reach a certain level of performance. Okay, so it focuses only on the operational performance of key elements in the PFM system. So that makes it to be to be limited, or making it to be challenging. The next one is what? PEFA also does not involve fiscal and expenditure policy analysis that will determine whether the fiscal policy is sustainable or not. So there is no dialogue on the fiscal policy. Okay, we can analyze the fiscal policies and the expenditure policies that have been brought by what? The finance minister. So with this, we don't know whether the fiscal policy is what? Is sustainable or not. Then the third one is what? PEFA does not provide recommendation for reforms or make assumptions about the potential impact of ongoing reforms on PFM performance. So here, whether there is what? A reform or not, the PEFA is not looking at that because it does not give any recommendation on it. Okay. Then the last one is what? PEFA assessment elements of the defense, public order, and safety function may not be included in if information is not available. So where there is what? There is lack of information on what? Defense, lack of information on public order, lack of information on what? The safety function. The PEFA does not include it. Okay, PEFA does not include it. Then the structure of PEFA report. What is the structure of PEFA report? We are saying that the structure, one, it talks about what? The executive summary, the executive summary, the executive summary, the executive summary. So the executive summary, when I will cite an example here, executive summary becomes what? The abstract of a thesis. Okay, abstract of what? A thesis. Okay, abstract of what? A thesis or an article. That is what? An executive summary. So it summarizes everything in one page. Then an introduction. It gives what? An introduction to the main issues that you are bringing. Then an overview of relevant country-led related information. So this is where you are comparing two countries or other countries to yours. Then the fourth one is what? An assessment of performance based on what? The 7 pillars. So the 7 pillars that we just look at the budget reliability, transparency in public finances, management of assets and liability, policy-based fiscal strategy, okay, down to the external scrutiny and audit. So they use those 7 pillars to assess the performance. Then the last one under the structure of report is what? The conclusion of cross-cutting what? Analysis. Okay, so you have to conclude by what? By using what? Those 2 countries that you have cited, okay, whether they are performing well against yours or not. You have scoring of dimensional indicators. Scoring of dimensional indicators. We are saying that the PEFA framework assesses and reports on the strength and weakness of public financial management. And we use what? 31 performance indicators that are further disaggregated into 94 dimensions. Okay, so under the PEFA scoring, we have what? 31 indicators and what? 94 dimensions. We are not interested in the details of it. Okay, so we are saying that most indicators have a number of separate dimensions, each of which may be assessed separately. Then the next one is what? Each dimension is scored separately on 4 points. Okay, 4 points. And it is on what? A, B, C, D. Okay, so when it's called A, what does it mean? When it's called B, what does it mean? When it's called C, what does it mean? When it's called D, what does it mean? Okay, so with this, when a country is being scored A, that means that the country is performing well. So A stands for what? 4. So that means that the marks allocated to the A is 4. B is 3. Okay, B is 3. So that means that is what? Is good. C is 2. That is what? Fair. Fair. Okay, and D is what? Is 1, which means that there is what? Low what? Low result. Okay, low performance. So that is what? The basis what? Performance. So that means you have performed what? Poorly, and it is 1. Okay, so we are saying that according to the what? Precise criteria established for each dimension, and the precise criteria is what I've just stated. A is 4, B is 3, C is 2, and D is what? Is 1. The overall score for an indicator is based on the score for the individual dimension. So the scores for the multiple dimensions are combined into the overall score for what? For the indicator using either the weakest link method or the averaging method. Okay, so these are the methods for what? For scoring. We have one, the weakest link method, and what? The averaging what? Method. So each indicator specifies the what? The method to be used. Okay, so please, the method for what? For scoring, we have for the weakest link, which is what? M1, and the average what? Method. Okay, so let's not forget. So let's dive details into it. When you talk about weakest link method, what does it mean? Which is M1. Okay, M1, what does it mean? Weakest link. We are saying that this method is used for multi-dimensional indicators. So this method is used for multi-dimensional indicators where poor performance in one dimension is likely to undermine the impact of good dimension or good performance on other dimensions of the same indicator. So in other words, this method applied where there is what? A weakest link in the connected dimension of what? The indicator. Okay, so here, let me give you an example, a practical example. Assuming you've written what? Your WASI. Okay, you've given what? You've written your WASI. We are saying that when there is what? A poor performance of one dimension, will be likely to undermine the impact of what? All the good dimensions. So for instance, we have what? You've written what? Your WASI. That is what? The core subject. That is English, Science, and Maths. Okay, so the English, Science, and Maths, we are saying that you've gotten what? English, which is A. Science, which is what? A. But you have gotten what? Maths, which is F. Okay, let me give you a practical case here. Okay, let me see if I can give you a practical case here. Please, are we looking at it? So for instance, maybe dimension 1, okay, which is maybe English. Okay, you have gotten what? Maybe A in it, okay, which is what? 4. Then maybe Maths, you've gotten maybe 3, okay. Then maybe you've gotten Science, which is 1, which is D, okay. So here we are saying that the A, which is what? English, you've gotten A in it, and the A signifies what? Good performance, okay. Then the Maths, which is 3, means you've gotten what? B. Then Science, you've gotten 1, which is what? D, okay, which is D. Please, are we watching the example? Which is D. Okay, so when you get A, that means you've gotten what? 4. It is a good performance, an indicator for good performance. You've gotten B, which is what? 3. Is what? Is good. Then Science, you've gotten what? D, which is what? F. Okay, and the F is what? Is 1 here, as we are a certain example, the example. So here we are saying that where what? A bad performance, okay, of one indicator or one dimension affect the rest of what? The result. Irrespective that you have gotten English A, you have gotten what? Maths what? B. Science, you've gotten D. So the D that you have what? Gotten, when we are assessing the performance of you, we are using the D, which is what? The Science. So that means we will say that you didn't do well. Okay, you didn't what? You didn't do well. Okay, there is what? A poor performance. Please, are you getting it? So we are basing on this because we've gotten what? Science, which is D. We are saying that 1, because of the D that you've gotten, it has undermined the good performance of what? The English and what? And the Maths. So in overall assessment of your performance, we are saying that is what? Is poor, which is bad. So we are not looking at this one. So when, for instance, you are using this result to apply for maybe a school, which is what? Training college, and you've gotten what? D in what? In Science. The training college will tell you that irrespective of the good result that you've gotten in English and maths, the D has what? Undermined this good result. So therefore, you are not going to get a school. Please, are we clear? So that was what ICAG was using previously. Okay, you need to pass all the level 4 papers. So when you write and you get maybe 3 and you didn't get 1, they won't credit you. You need to get all the 4 papers. Okay, but later they need to change it and say that it was bad. So when you get 1, they need to credit you. Please, are we clear? So here, the point I want you to make to understand and get it is that when you've gotten what? The dimensions, okay, and there is what? A bad performance, irrespective of the good performance that you get in other dimensions, it means that you didn't do well. Why? Please, are we clear? So here, the performance of these particular candidates will be what? Will be D. Overall performance will be D. That means that the person did not do well based on what? The science what? Score that he has gotten. Please, is it okay? Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that is the weakest link method. So the steps in determining the aggregate indicator score are as follows. 1, each dimension is initially assessed separately and given a score on the 4-point calibration scale. Okay, so that is what I have demonstrated. English, you've gotten what? A. Okay, so maths, you've gotten B. Science, you've gotten what? D. So we are assigning what? The score to it. So if you've gotten, you get what? A, that means it is 4. When you get B, it is what? 3. When you get D, it's what? It's 1. So you are assigning what? The score to it. So that is what we mean by each dimension is initially assessed separately and given a score on a 4-point calibration scale. So the aggregate score for the indicator is the lowest score given by any dimension. Okay, so the aggregate score or the overall score is what? Is this one, the poor one. So we are basing on the poor one to assess whether you are doing well or not. So where any of the other dimensions score higher, that is what? We add what? Plus to what? To the indicator or score. So for instance, let's look at something here. For instance, okay, you've gotten what? A here. Okay, let me use the same example, the scenario. You've gotten what? A and B here. So because of this, the last point is saying that we should add what? Plus to this one. Okay, so that means that we'll get what? D plus here. Okay, that means what? We'll get D plus because of the influence of the A and the good performance of what? This B. So the country performance will be D plus. Okay, so we have to note that it is not acceptable to choose the score of one of the higher scoring dimension and add A for any lower scoring dimension. So it is based on what? The good performance that we are going to add what? The A or the A plus. Please, are we clear? We move on to the averaging method or the average method, which is M2. The M2. Here we are saying that the aggregate indicator score awarded using this method is based on an approximate average of the scores for the individual dimension of an indicator as specified in the conversion table. Okay, so the conversion tables, I am not more interested in it. Okay, I'm not more interested, but I'll show you how it's been done. So we are saying that this method is prescribed for selected multi-dimension indicators where a low score on one dimension of the indicator does not necessarily undermine the impact of a high score on another dimension of the same indicator. So here, a poor performance of one dimension does not undermine the good performance of what? Another dimension. So though all dimensions of an indicator fall within the same area of the PFM system, in certain areas, progress on some individual dimension can be independent of the others. So here, I'll use the same example here. Okay, I'll use the same example here. Okay, so here, if you want to assess the performance using the average, which is the M2. Okay, using what? The average, which is what? M2. Average method. Okay, so here we are saying that we need to find what? Average performance of this. So to find the average performance of this particular candidate, we are going to add what? The score, all the score. We assign the scores to it and add them. So here we are going to get A plus what? Plus 3 plus 1. Okay, all divided by what? The total what? The total dimension, which is 1, 2, 3. How many dimensions? It is what? 1, 2, 3, which is 3. Okay, so what are we getting?
2.66, or let's say 2.7.
2.7. Okay, so the answer will be what?
2.7.
2.7. Okay, so this 2.7, okay, this 2.7, we are basing on all this addition of all dimensions and divided by the number of what? The dimensions. Okay, will give us what? This 2.7. So this 2.7 is what? Mind you, you are saying that I'm coming on. I want to create another. Okay. Mind you, you are saying that when you get A, it's equal to what? A is equal to what? It's 4.
4.
Okay. Then B, when you get B, it's equal to what? 3.
Oh.
When you get C, it's equal to what? 2.
2.
And when you get D, it's equal to what? 1.
1.
So here, we are saying that, let me do my calculation work. Let me get an even number. 4 plus 3 will give us 7. 7 plus let's assume that you've gotten another one, which is maybe R. You've gotten maybe C. Okay, you've gotten C here. You've gotten C here, and C is what? C is 2, right?
Yes, C is 2.
2. Okay, so here plus 2. So here will be 4, right?
Yes.
So 3 plus 4 will give us 7. Okay, 7 plus 3 will give us what? 10, isn't it? 10
so
divided by 4.
2.5.
Huh?
2.5.
Oh no, I need a this thing. I need an even number. Okay, let me assume that we don't have D. Okay, so here will be what? 4 plus 3 will give us what?
7. And then 9.
9 divided by 3 will give us what?
Give us 3.
3. Okay, thank you. So it's okay here. So let's look at something here. Please pay attention here. So the average method is saying that the dimension, you assign what? The point to it, which is A will be 4, B is 3, and C is 2. Okay, so here you add all the dimensions and divide it by what? The number of what? The dimensions. Okay, the number of what? Dimensions. So here you've gotten what? 3. So that means the average or the performance, overall performance of what? This particular candidate is what? Is 3. And 3 signifies what? C. Okay, 3 signifies C. So that means the performance of this candidate is what? Is C, which is average. Okay, which is what? Fairly what? Perform. Please, are we clear? So you realize that this one, the bad performance of this one does not undermine all. Okay, the bad performance of this one does not what? Undermine all. So therefore, the performance of that particular candidate is what? Is C. Please, is it well understood for us? Is it okay?
So the 3 The 3 is score is B. So
Yeah,
if
sorry. It's B. It's B rather. It's B. So that means the overall performance of this candidate is what? Is B. Okay.
Yeah.
After we divide it, we add and divide it, we get 3. So the 3, you look at which of what? The point refer to what? To the 3, which is what? B. So the performance of this particular person is what? Is B. Okay. Please, is it okay? This is what the syllabus wants you to know. When there is going to be a PEFA calculation, this is the 2 methods they are going to use to assess you on the calculation. It's either the average or what? Or the weakest link, or they blend the 2. There's no calculation that is coming otherwise or anywhere. Okay, so please let's understand this. Okay, let's understand this. With the weakest link, we are saying that a bad performance of one dimension will undermine a good performance of other dimensions. Okay, but with the average, we are saying that one bad performance of one dimension does not what necessarily what undermine the bad performance of what other dimension. Okay, so let's take note of this. Please, is the calculation okay for us?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So that is what we just look at now. Then the step in determining the aggregate indicator. So that is what we have just demonstrated. Each dimension is initially assessed separately and given a score on a 4-point calibration scale. That is whether there are 2, 3, or 4 dimensions for the indicator. So we identify the row in each of that that matches the score for each dimension of the indicator. Then the last one, enter the corresponding overall score of that indicator. So here, that is the overall score, which is 3, and 3 is what? Is C. Okay, thank you. Then we move on to the sources of information. What are the sources of information for PEFA? Where do we get our information from? One, we are saying that we get the information for PEFA assessment or score from various official documents, such as what? The legislation, the government policy papers, budget documents, reports and statistics, recent surveys, and analytical work at national, regional, and international levels. So let's take key note of these ones too, okay? Then the conclusion of PEFA analysis. Conclusion of what? PEFA analysis. We are saying that PEFA does not provide a ranking or global result. It draws conclusions based on general assessment of all matters in relation to 1, the internal control effective, 2, government reforms action, and 3, strength and weakness of what? The PFM system. Okay, so let's look at the internal control. The internal control. Here too, when I was writing public sector, this was the question they asked. Okay, the internal control, they asked the question on this internal control. So objective of internal control in PFM system are 1, the operations are executed in an orderly, ethical, and economical, efficient, and effective manner. Then accountability of obligations are fulfilled. Then applicability of the laws and regulations are also what? Comply with. And the last one is the resources are safeguarded against losses, misuse and damages. So these are the objective of what? The internal control. So what is the internal control? So the internal control analysis, we are saying that PEFA adopted the COSO framework of what? Internal control in its analysis. So the framework has 5 interrelated components, namely control environment, risk assessment, control activities, information and communication, and monitoring. So let's look into details of each of them. When you talk about control environment, you are saying that the control environment describes a set of standards, processes, and structures that provide the basis for carrying out internal control across the organization. So the internal controls, we are talking about what? What are the standards that we use in preparing the financial? What are the processes that we go through when we are going to acquire an asset? Okay, and what are the structures, okay, that provide the basis for carrying out internal controls? that are across in the organization. So this is what we term as the control environment. So we have key areas of interest towards PEFA. And one, we are saying that the personal and professional integrity and ethical values of management and staff, including the supportive attitude towards internal control constantly throughout the organization. Okay, so what are the staff that you have? Okay, professional integrity is key. Then the ethical values, are they complying with the ethical values of the management? Then the two, commitment to competence. Okay, commitment to competence, the competence level. Then the tone at the top, that is management philosophy and the operating style. Then the next one is organizational structure. What is the organizational structure? Okay, is the organization having organizational structure? If it is no, then there is a weak control environment. Then human resource policies and practice. What are the policies that govern the human resources and practices of the employees in the organization? Then we move on to the risk assessment. The risk assessment. We are saying that the risk assessment forms the basis for determining how risks will be managed. A risk is defined as the possibility that an event will occur and adversely affect the achievement of the organizational objective. So the risk assessment is where you are going to identify the risks. So upon identifying the risks, how do you move on? You need to manage the risks so that there won't be occurrence of such risks going forward. So that is what we talk about, the risk assessment. The risk that you have identified, how well do you manage it? And that is the key areas we are going to look at. One, risk identification. You need to identify the risks. How do you identify the risks? So the risk assessment, the risk that you have identified, you need to assess the risk and know that the significant and likelihoodness of that particular risk of being occurring in the next future. Then you have to evaluate the risk that you have identified. Okay, you need to evaluate the risk that you have identified. Then the risk appetite assessment. Okay, the risk appetite assessment. And the last one the responses to the risk. That is the transfer tolerance, treatment, or termination of the risk. Okay, so this is what the areas of risk assessment talks about. We move on to the control activities. Control activities. So the control activities, we are saying that they are the actions that are generally described in policies, procedures, and standards. Okay, and where do we find all this one? Those are the control environment. Okay, that help management to mitigate risks in order to ensure the achievement of the objectives. Control activities may be preventive or detective in nature and may be performed at all levels of the organization. Okay, at all levels of organization. So let's take note, the control activities. Okay, the control activities, we are saying that they may be preventive or detective in nature. So what are the areas? One, the authorization and approval procedures. Okay, when you are going to buy an item, how do you go purchase the items? So the PV needs to be raised. After raising, they need to authorize it. After the authorization, they need to approve it. So there should be internal controls that fixed into this, so that there won't be a misuse of state resources. Then there should be a segregation of duties. Is the entity having a segregation duties among the entities that is authorizing, processing, recording, and review? Or is one person having all these things? So if one person is having all this thing, or you doing all this thing, that means there is a risk. Okay, so the control activities is saying that there should be a segregation of duties. Okay, there should be somebody authorizing, there should be somebody processing, there should be somebody recording, and there should be somebody reviewing. Then we have controls over access to resources and records. Resources and records. Control over access to resources and records. So in the organization that you are working, okay, the resources, do you easily have access to them? The monies, do you easily have access to them? When you're going to withdraw monies, do you easily have access to them? So the control activities is saying that there should be what? Control over access to what? Those records and what? And resources. There should be what? Verifications. You should verify and reconcile. Review of what? Operating performance. Review of operation processes and what? Activities. Then supervision. Assigning, review, and approving guidance and training. Okay, so this is what we term as what? Control activities. Information and communication is another part of what? The internal control. So we are saying that information is obtained or generated by management from both internal and external sources in order to support internal control components. So we are saying that the communication based on internal and external sources, in which is used to disseminate important information throughout an outside organization, as needed to respond to and support meeting requirements and expectations. So the internal communication of information throughout an organization are also allowed senior management to demonstrate to employees that control activities should be taken serious. And what are the control activities? These are the control activities that we have just said. Okay, these are the control activities that we have just said. Okay, there should be somebody authorizing, there should be somebody approving, there should be segregation of duties, there should be control over access to resources, there should be verification, there should be reconciliation, there should be review of operating performance up to what? The supervision. Please, are we clear? So the information and communication is based on that. Please, are we clear? And the last one we are going to look at is what? Monitoring. The monitoring. What is monitoring? Monitoring activities are periodic or ongoing evaluation to verify that each of the 5 components of internal control, including the controls that affect the principles within each component, are present and functioning around their product. Okay, so when you are doing the monitoring, you should make sure that all the controls are included. Okay, all the controls are included. There are controls that have been put in place in order to ensure the safeguard of what? Resources. And mind you, the PEFA is talking about what? The value for money. Okay, value for money, how protected the resources are, how you are using the resources, how the resources you are using to undertake the activities are being guided by what? The value for money principles. And what are the key areas on what? The monitoring. They are saying that monitoring PFM under what? PEFA assessment deals with what? The following: 1, ongoing monitoring; 2, evaluation; and 3, management responses. So make sure that when you are monitoring, you should be able to bring what? Response, that is the result, as to whether it is going on well or it's not going on well. Please, on this note, any question on PEFA? Any question on PEFA? We are done with PEFA. Any question on PEFA? Any question on PEFA? Colleagues, are we there? Any question on PEFA? No question. Thank you. So, PEFA goes hand in hand with value for money. Goes hand in hand with value for money. So PEFA plus value for money give us what? The 10 marks. Okay. PEFA plus value for money give us what? The 10 marks. So let's quickly look at what? The value for money. Let's quickly look at the value for money. So value for money and performance measurement in public sector. Value for money and performance measurement in public sector. The coverage, we are going to look at what? The basis for measurement. What are the basis for measurement? Using what? The economy, effectiveness, efficiency, equity. Then the value for money itself. The mechanism used to achieve value for money. The reason for performance measurement in the public sector. So these are the things we are going to look at under the value for money and performance measurement. So let's first of all start with value for money. So we are saying that value for money, the overall aim of PEFA framework is to ensure that there is what? Value for money through effective and orderly public financial management system. So the value for money is concerned with 1, the economy, that is cost minimization. Cost minimization, there should be what? Cost minimization when you are going to purchase what? An item. So value for money is based not only on what? On the minimum what purchase. Okay, that is what the minimization. Then efficiency. So the efficiency also is looking at what? Output maximization. The effectiveness. Then effectiveness is looking at the full attainment of the intended result. The full attainment of what? Intended result. And the last one is what? Equity. That is spending fairly public sector programs and spending. Okay, so we are saying that the value for money is based not only on minimum purchase price, that is the economy, but it is also on the maximum efficiency and effectiveness of what? The purchase. So value for money is defined as what? The most advantageous combination, cost, quality, and sustainability to meet customer requirements. Okay, so value for money is defined as what? The most advantageous combination, cost, quality, and sustainability to meet what? Customer requirements. Okay, so we are saying that value for money analysis is the process of collecting and analyzing data on the cost and results of particular program and interpreting the value for money indicators generated by comparing with those of what? Other programs. Okay, so the value for money analysis is what? It's not necessarily about saving money and reducing unit cost. It is about maximizing actual output and impact. What is the impact on government what program? Okay, what is impact? What is the impact of what? Government what? Policy. So a key objective of conducting a value for money analysis is to help managers improve program performance. It can give program managers useful metrics to quantify the impact of challenges they observe on the ground and identify the best interventions to address those challenges, which could include the reallocation of resources. So value for money analysis is not necessarily about saving money and reducing unit costs. It is about maximizing actual output or outcome and input or impact, while the value for money of program could sometimes be improved by reducing the cost of certain input. Greater and more sustainable actual outcome can also derive by spending more on the certain input. So this is how the value for money analysis is being given. Okay, this one, the ICAG syllabus provide this. I decided to bring it here, okay, for you to know, because we don't know, who knows, maybe they might ask question on it. Okay, this is the value for money analysis framework. So we have the value for money process. Okay, we have the drivers for each of the processes. The value for money process, we have the context, we have the input, we have the process, we have the outcome, we have the impact. So what are the drivers for each of them? Okay, so we are saying that the value for money analysis starts with the context analysis. So the context analysis refers to the problem. Okay, the problems the proposer aims to address. What are the problems that you aim to address? Okay, so it answers the question, why do we have to spend on this program or activities? Why do you have to spend on the programs or the activities that you are going to embark? So the value for money cannot be achieved on wrong programs and activities. So mind you, the context is talking about the programs that you are going to you are answerable to or you are going to achieve. For example, it is acceptable to participate in African Cup of Nations this year. Okay, is it acceptable to participate in African Cup of Nations this year? That is the context or the problem. So if the citizen answers is no, then you cannot achieve value for money. So no matter the level of prudence, you have to display. Okay, you have to display. Okay, so please, let's be mindful. Let's be mindful that the context is the problem to which you are going to answer to it. Okay, Then we want to the input. This input. We are saying that the input refers to the resources required to deliver the program or activities. Okay, what are the input? The input is what? The resources that you are going to use to achieve the value for the contest. Okay, so this contest, the resources that you are inputting to achieve this contest is what we call about what? The input. So it is typically include things such as what? Staff, engineers, consultants, materials and land. Okay, materials and land that you are going to input to address this contest. So how much of these resources are acquired and the process used to acquiring them will affect the value for money process. So input should be what? Procure economically. So that means what? There should be what? Cost minimization. So the input should what? Should be procured what? Economical. So all this input, that is what? The engineering, the staff, the consultant, the materials, the land that you are going to procure, it should be procured economically so that there should be what? Value for money. And economically is talking about what? Cost minimization. You should buy it at a lesser what? Cost. Okay, we should buy it what? At a lesser what? Cost. Then process. Process. When you talk about process, what does it mean? It refers to the technology and procedures used to convert this input, okay, into what? Into output. Okay, how we are converting this input to the output is what we call the process. So the process link input to output in the value process. It is the process by which input are transformed. It is the process by which these inputs are transformed into result. Okay, so such processes can be object what? Program evaluation, but cannot be quantified through value for money analysis independently. Okay, so we are saying that the process, okay, the process should be what? Efficiency. The process should be what? Efficiency enough. Okay, and what did I say efficiency means? Let's look at this. So when you are explaining, it should be guidance with this. So efficiency is what? Output maximization. Economy is what? Cost minimization. So please, are we clear? Okay, so the next one is what? Is the outcome. What do we mean by outcome? Okay, what do we mean by what? Outcome. Outcome is what? Is the output. Okay, outcome is what? Is the output. So it refers to what? To the tangible deliverable what? Of programs or activities. It is typically include things such as what? Roads, railway, station build or maintain. So the relationship between the input and output defines the efficiency of what? The process used to deliver the what? The services or activities. So we are saying that efficiency is therefore a key element in what? Value for money consideration in what? In the public sector. So this efficiency, the output should be derived efficiently. Okay, should be derived what? Effectiveness. That is what? Full attainment of what? Result. Okay, there should be what? Full attainment of result. So the input should be what? Should be converted. Okay, the process, we should convert this input to output, and converting it, we are saying that it should be what? Efficiency enough. Okay, and the output that we are acquiring should be what? Should be economically. Okay, that is what? Cost minimization. And the outputs that we are getting out of what? Processing this input should be what? Effectiveness. Okay, so and the effectiveness is saying full attainment of what? Of result. Full attainment of what? Of results. And the last one is what? Impact. Okay, the impact. What is the impact? Impact refers to the longer term effect of what? The program or activities on the being of what? The public. It is wider public value attributable to the program activities. This calls for a broader consideration beyond the usual financial values. It is concerned with social impact such as reduction in debt on the roads or environmental impact in terms of pollution, deforestation program. Okay, so here, what are the impact on government program? Okay, what are the impact on government program? And we are saying that it should be what? Equity. Okay, so you should be thinking about what? The next generation. You should what? Be thinking about what? The next generation. So when you're doing your policy, you should feature what? The next generation in what? In your policy. So therefore, it should be what? Longer term. The policy that you are bringing or you are bringing on board should be what? Should be on the longer term. Then we move on to the basis for measurement. What are the basis for measurement? The basis for measurement, we are saying that we have effectiveness. 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 What is effectiveness? This refers to the access or otherwise by the performer in achieving objective. Therefore, it is concerned only output. Okay, it is concerned only what? Output. And effectiveness is, we are talking about what? Full attainment of what? Result. Full attainment of what? Result. We have limitation of effectiveness. We are saying that most government projects are social intervention in nature, and most of these do not have any quantifiable output and very difficult to determine the value of what? The outputs. Okay, so the measure can be what? Very subjective, as there are no possible standards for measuring most outputs of these social projects of government. Then the last one is saying that it can be what? A weak measure, as it is one-sided. It does not compare output with what? With the input resources used in achieving it. So one basic measurement of what? Performance is what? Effectiveness, where we are going to look at what? The output, that is full attainment of what? Result. Then efficiency. What do we mean by efficiency? Efficiency measures the extent to which an objective has what? Has been achieved in relation to what? To the resources that has been used. So has the objective of government policy been achieved at the longer run? So that is what we term our what? The efficiency. Okay, so we will use what? Efficiency to measure what? Government performance or the country performance. Okay, and this one we are looking at what? Whether government has achieved its what? Objective. You looking at what? The resources that he has what? Has been available for him to achieve that particular what? Objective. Then economy. Economy. We are saying that whereas effectiveness concerns only output, economy also concerns what? Input. So here we are looking at what? Cost minimization. The input that you are getting, okay, the input that you are purchasing, in order to transform it to what? To output. We are saying that is it what? Cost minimize scenario, okay? Is it, are you acquiring it on a cost minimization level? If yes, then that means that we are using what? Economy to what? To measure performance, and we have limitation of what? Economy. We are saying that the measure can be weak, can be what? A weak one, as it is what? One-sided. It does not consider the other side of it. That is the result that has been what? Been achieved. When it is very emphasized, it could be lead to poor execution of what? Government projects. Then the next one we can use to measure performance is what? Is equity. Equity. We are saying that equity is concerned with performance in terms of what? Balancing the needs of the current generation with what? That of the future generation. Mind you, when I was explaining the equity, that is the impact, I am saying that when government is what? Is bringing a policy, he should what? Consider the next generation. So that is what he's saying here. In terms of what? Balancing the needs of what? The current generation with what? That of what? The future generation. So taking into account what? The next generation, when you are bringing what? Policies, which will go in a long way. So it focuses on sustainability and environment and social justice. Therefore, a government must be seen to take the future generation into consideration when embarking on government programs and policy. So when government is what? Is bringing programs and policy, it should look at what? The longer period. And the longer period is considering what? The next generation, putting the next generation into account. That is what we term what? The equity. The next point we are going to look at is what? Mechanism to achieve value for money. Mechanism used to achieve value for money. The following are the mechanisms that used to achieve value for money. 1, we have economy. 2, we have efficiency. 3, we have transparency and accountability. That is ethical standard. 4, we have accountability, fairness, and efficiency in public procurement. Mind you, we treated public procurement, and one of attributes of what? Public procurement is what? Accountability, fairness, and what? Efficiency. Okay, so the procurement that you are doing, you should be what account for it. It should be what fair. It should be what efficiency enough. Then the last one is what competition. Okay, competition. There should be what a competition in what the procurement activities. It should be open to the general public to apply in order to select the lowest out of it to ensure what value for money. Reason for performance measurement in the public sector. What are the reasons for performance measurement in public sector? We are saying that it can form the basis for discharging accountability. Okay, so here we can use what? Performance measurement to enforce accountability of what? Of government. Government should account for his stewardship. That is what we mean by what? It can form the basis for discharging accountability for the users to what? To ensure that government accounts for their stewardship.
Okay.
The next one is it provides essential
I want more
information.
water to bath.
The next one is it provides essential information.
I really know.
It provides what? Essential what? Information to improve management within public sector. Okay, so here, when there is what? Performance measurement, it will put government on toes in order to improve government what? Performance within what? The public sector. Okay, then the next one is what? As basis for promotion. It serves as what? A basis for promotion. It serves as a basis for what? Promotion. Okay, the next one we are going to look at is what? A basis for increasing financial resources. A basis for increasing financial resources. So it's the entity that you are operating within performing well. If they are performing well, okay, then that means that there's going to what? There should going to be what? Additional what? Financial resources to the entity. Okay, so that means it shows a good sign of what? A good performance. The next one is what? To assess the impact of government programs on society. How is government programs and policy on what? Their society. Okay, so government program in terms of service delivery, is it good or not? So let's take free SHS for instance. The impact of free SHS, is it in the longer run affecting the economy or not? If it is affecting the economy, that means that there is what? A good performance. But if there is no what? A sign what? Of a good performance in terms of the free SHS, that means there is what? A bad performance. So one of the reasons is that to assess the impact of government what? Programs on the society. Is the society worse off or not? And the last one is what? To assess the extent to which value for money has been what? Achieved. To assess the extent to which value for money has been achieved. So here we are going to assess whether government resources that have been what? Taken in terms of what? Each service delivery. Is there value for money? If there is value for money, we are using it to assess the performance of what? Government. On this note, we bring an end to what? To value for money. We bring an end to what? Value for money. Please, any question? Please, any question? Colleagues, any question? Colleagues, any question?
For me, no question.
Okay. So let's look at some of the questions that ICAG asked students under the PEFA and value for money. Past question. We are saying that the public expenditure and financial accountability framework, which is PEFA, recognizes the importance of internal control system in achieving the desired fiscal and budgetary outcome. Internal control system play a vital role across every pillar of public financial management. It addresses risks and provides assurance that operation meets the control objective of the PEFA framework. Therefore, assesses how effectively the internal control system operates in the country, making reference to what? The internal control component developed by other internal organizations, specifically committees of sponsoring what? Organizations of the US. Required, explain 3 controls objective in public financial management relevant to what? To the PEFA framework assessment. That is 3 marks. Okay, that is 3 marks. 2, discuss 5 components of internal controls in relation to PEFA framework. That is 5 marks. Then explain 2 limitations of the PEFA framework for assessing the public financial management. So please, you see how the question has been framed. So let's not forget, they are asking the question based on what? On the areas I've just exposed you to. Let me give you one trick here. When the question is asked before you, please and please, first of all, go and read the requirement. All this, what I've just highlighted, all this are irrelevant. Okay, they are just there to waste your time. Just go straight to the requirement. The requirement will tell you what you have to do. Please, are we clear? Please, are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Then the next question. The Public Expenditure and Financial Accountability Framework has gained worldwide recognition due to its contribution to public financial management discussion. It is one framework that has received acceptance across the globe. Required, explain the objective of the PEFA framework. That is 2 marks. Discuss 4 uses or application of what? The PEFA report. And the next one is what? Explain 4 sources of what? Information for the PEFA assessment. I've exposed you to all these things, the objective, the uses or the benefit of what? The PEFA or the importance of PEFA. Have you seen that? It just bring one, uses. But when I was giving you, I gave you what? The uses, the benefit and importance. Please, okay. So the uses is the same as what? The benefit or the importance of what? The PEFA report. Then explain 4 sources of what? Information. And the information I told you, legislation, budget documents, and other things that I have just exposed you to. Those are the ones you are explaining. So 4 plus 4 making 8 plus 2 making what? 10. So the PEFA under this particular past question is giving us what? 10 marks. Then the next question is, let's look at this. The Public Expenditure and Financial Accountability Program was initiated in 2001 by 7 international development partners: the European Commission, International Monetary Fund, World Bank, and the government of France, Norway, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom. PEFA began as a means to harmonize assessments of PFM across the partner organization. It subsequently established a standard methodology for PFM diagnostic assessment. The PEFA framework since 2001, PEFA has become the acknowledged standard for PFM assessment. Required, describe the scope and goals of PEFA framework, 10 marks. So please, have you seen that all these things that I have highlighted, they are not of importance here. So when the question is asked before you, please strictly go to the requirement. Go straight to the requirement. So the requirement will tell you what to do. So describe the scope and goals of what? The PEFA framework. And what are the goals? That is what? The aggregate fiscal discipline, strategic allocation of resources, efficient service delivery. The one I've just exposed you to. The first one. Okay, the scope. Have you seen the scope or the outcome? These are the 3 things you are using it to explain that question. Okay, this question. Oh, where is it? Sorry. This question, the goals, scope or goals. So the aggregate fiscal discipline, the strategic allocation of resources, and efficient service delivery. Then the next question, public financial management is a critical blah, blah, blah. I'm not interested. So explain the purpose of what? The PEFA framework. What is the purpose for PEFA framework? 3 marks. Explain the key pillars of an open and orderly public financial management system under the PEFA framework. So what are the pillars? The pillars. Have you seen this? That is what? The 7 pillars. Okay, the 7 pillars. You are explaining what? The 7 pillars for the examiner. Okay, you are explaining what? The 7 pillars for what? For the examiner. Okay, so please, on this note, we've ended what? PEFA and what? Value for money. Any question? Any questions, please?
For me, no, sir.
Any questions, please?
For me, no, sir.
Okay.
No question.
No questions. Please, other colleagues, any question? Other colleagues, any
No,
question?
sir.
Is that?
No, please, I don't have any question.
Not from me, sir.
Okay. Let me see if the chat. Okay, the chat box have answered that question already. So, on this note, we bring an end to today's session. Okay. Let me pause my video.